Okay.
Ja, auch einen wunderschönen guten Morgen an euch alle. Ihr seht schon richtig frisch aus heute früh, am Sonntagmorgen. Und ich werde auch in Englisch sprechen, weil wir diese Session in Englisch machen werden.
Yes.
We will speak in English.
Yes.
Both. Or shall I speak in German and you speak in English?
No, it depends what we want to show.
No, so I hope the translation will be prepared for this. Is this okay? Looks to be okay. Wonderful. Okay, so I thought it is a very good idea that we are both here,
Yes.
because I can address a topic which is easier if we are two than one, because you wrote a wonderful book called My Double Unveiled,
Yes.
and I was really very fascinated reading it, and there you have the concept of a double. So if we are two, then we can double each other. So can you little expand on this topic, the double, what does it mean?
Yes. Well, first of all, good morning. I dressed the tie, and as Marcus told me at breakfast, you dress well because it is Sunday. So I forgot it is Sunday, but in any case, my wife said you needed to have a tie. Okay. So I apologize. So usually I don't. Like this.
Looks very, very smart.
Yeah. Okay. You see, I'm a worker, so I need to be dressed as a worker. Now, there is a word in that the title of that small book is My Double Unveiled. Unveiled because I was working out some mathematics to show to model something about the brain, how the brain is working. And there is one essential point in biological systems in general, in every system in general, and in brains in particular, the fact that it is an open system. Even when we sleep, the brain is open to the external world. Otherwise, we will not listen to the alarm clock, which we often do. But in any case, the brain is always open to the world. Now, in the imperialistic view of science, people has been calling, and is still today called, a canonical formalism to one adopted in physics to describe many phenomena. Canonical means the one, the correct one, the only one, the best one, the beautiful one, is canonical formalism. The Hamiltonian, also called from Hamilton, the Hamiltonian formalism. Now, this formalism, it is only for closed systems. Since in nature we observe only open systems, so that canonical formalism is useless. This is, you see, a sort of a contradiction. So what happens? If you have an open system and you want to do some mathematics with that formalism, which is, by the way, the only one we have, it's the only formalism which really works. I mean, well organized, logically consistent, mathematically, is beautiful, really beautiful. So if you have an open system and you want to work out some mathematics to describe, as a physicist does, you have to close the system. How to close the system? So just to make an example, I'm here, my brain is here, it's an open system. Open on what? Open on you. Open on that tree outside there. And I could go farther and farther. But since you need some approximation, otherwise you cannot do a computation, we might consider just this room. We might consider that the glasses are well isolating from outside as temperature, as a light, as everything. So we might assume, in some approximation, that this room is altogether, including ourselves, a closed system. So if I want to study my brain, a brain, the brain of Professor Fair, I have to consider that brain and whatever is inside this room. Now, this is complicated because how many we are, I don't know, maybe more than 50, maybe something like that. And each one is different. There are females, males. I mean, temperature is different. Each one is thinking something about something we like to think. So we make another approximation. If I consider the brain, one brain, what I need to close it is that the balance of fluxes between the brain I consider, let's say my brain, so I'm less, otherwise I have to say my brain. My brain is connected with the external inside this room and is exchanging energy because there is a temperature. I'm talking, so is exchanging information. I'm watching at you, and your feature comes to my brain through my eyes. So there are many exchanges. So to close the system, I have to consider the flux of all this information, energy, whatever, coming out of my brain, going to you, but also the fluxes that from you comes to my brain. And I have to balance. If I do not balance, it's not a closed system, because something is missing. So I have to balance. So you see, the approximation is that I put the total of whatever, let me say energy, including information and all that, the total of the energy going out from me, so let me say, according to me, to my standpoint, forward in time, with the flux of energy coming from you. So since these two quantities have to be equal because the difference must be zero, you see, so from the computational point of view, in any respect, the environment around my brain is just like my brain. From the point of view of the balance, think of money. When one speaks about money, everybody understands. I have a company, and I have to make at the end of the year how much I did spend. So I have two columns. I write in red what I spent, and in green what I got. Now, I spent buying something from someone, and I gain from someone. Someone might be all the people I had business with. So the other accountant will write in green what is my red, and in red what is my green. We agree on that? What is so? If you want to write a formula, and you consider time, because time is going back and forth, so I have to put a minus sign in front of the time concerning you, and plus sign according to my time, or vice versa. It's just the relative sign must be opposite. Okay? In such a way, the sum at the end of the story is zero. So if you do that, you are just doubling. I have my brain, and at the end of the story, I could, in abstract, think that there is another brain down there, all of you, which is not just one brain. If I go to look carefully, I find such many brains as you are, but I find also this room, the lights, everything. So I consider that packet of things just like a copy of my brain, because I give and I take. So now, since I changed the sign of time, here it becomes something which is, how to say, a little bit poetic. It is like in a mirror. But this mirror is not mirror in the space, like one when I make my shape, but is a mirror in time. You see? So if you think of a mirror, of a real mirror, and you put a pen or your finger on the mirror, the image in the mirror, you find the other finger pointing to you. And on the surface of the mirror, the real finger, your finger, and the image of your finger, they touch on the surface. If this is a time mirror, the arrow of time going forward in this mirror, which is time mirror, is coming to me. So is time reversed, because mirror is like this. So the two meet on the mirror of time, and at that point, the past in my arrow is in the back of the arrow. The point is the present, is where I am now. The other one comes from the future. And they meet where? On the present, on the now. So it comes out the idea of the now. You see, in the canonical formalism, which is for closed systems, there is no now. Because you can always, now I think we are in the legal time, is also in Germany. Yes, in Italy we have a legal time. At some days ago, I don't remember, 1 month ago or something, we had to change our watches, putting 1 hour, I always am mixed up, after or before. So we changed the origin of time. What was midnight is no more midnight, is 1 o'clock. You see, you can shift the origin of time. This means that does matter. Why does matter? Because in the lifetime, or even in a day of one of us, 1 hour less or 1 hour later, especially in Italy, especially in Naples, is just the same. We never see. We see at 7 o'clock. We say about 7 o'clock, which is from 6 to 8. So 1 hour does matter, because the system is considered to be closed. So does matter 1 hour less, 1 hour later, I mean before or after. So there is a beautiful theorem by Nether, was she, that tells you that if the system you are considering, you can shift the origin of time, then energy is conserved, which means the system is closed. So, in closed system, there is no origin of time. You can shift. There is no age. Things do not get old, or they are not young or old. Because you shift, I take my document and I change my birth date. If the system, if I would be a closed system, I could do that. But I'm not. The cap will jail me if he finds that I have changed my birth date onto my documents. I cannot do, because I'm an open system. But if I consider the open system, one open system, in this case my brain, and it's, how you would call it, the double, because I have been doubling mathematically in writing. I have some symbol to specify my system, A, and the other one, I call it, I could call B, but we should agree on that, okay? At the moment, let's call B. So I have A and B. Joining them together, I close the system. But I know now that they meet on the present, only on the present. Our exchange of smile or words or whatever, or vision, is in the present, is now. Not at breakfast, not just one moment ago. And now has no dimension. You cannot split it now. It's just now. And then there is another now. And then there is another now. You see? And from each one of these now, a thread goes. So you have many timelines from one single now. Mm-hmm. At this point, the publisher wanted the title of the book. I'm doubling the double, but I put one word after because I saw one movie some months before, which was L'amico ritrovato, the unveiled friend, something like that. They were two friends separated because they were put in different concentration camps, and then they met after the war, and so they found each other. So I said, let me take this, and the double, unveiled. Unveiled because it came to me. It was not in my plan to do something like that. I had to solve the problem. I have to work out some mathematics for an open problem, for an open system. So I did what I have been telling you, just that. So my double, unveiled. Unveiled because was not, okay, the double came to me. Not I went to the double. You see, this is just like the story of the title. But the double means that I'm always, I said B, A and B. But look, you are, for me, because I'm considering my brain, not just what you are for Marcus here. Because our lives have been different up to now, and we have different tastes. I like orange jam because it's a little bit sour. He likes, what you like, I don't know, something
strawberry
sweet.
jam.
Strawberry. So we have a different taste. We have a different. Now I cannot see anymore well far away. He's very sharp sight. We are different story, different everything. So, from our different standpoint, you are different for each one of us. And we put each one of us, of you, we put in the world in which we are sitting our values. What we like to find what we like. The truth, what we think is the truth, we like to think that is also your truth. I mean, our values of each one of us are also in our double. Mm. So, instead of calling it B, let's call it A. Just the same. But since when you write A, everything mixed up, you put a symbol on that A, tilde, or you write in a script, or italics, and the other one in another character, but A and A, just to mean that the two are really, in some sense, twin. Because the word, my word, was born when I was born, because it's my word. So we are twin. Nice to meet you.
Giuseppe, thank you for this explanation. We got, so because the topic of the conference is the world of consciousness.
Yeah.
And actually the way how I found you was when I prepared a seminar called Expansions of Quantum Theory Towards Consciousness. I was looking at an article, a very good article about quantum theory and consciousness on the Plato platform. Plato is a platform from Stanford University,
Yes.
you must know it,
Yes.
about the philosophy of the world. And Harald Artmannspacher wrote a long article about quantum theory and consciousness. And he mentions your
Yes.
model there,
Yes.
that this is one of the most promising models or ideas about consciousness. So can you talk about how is the double related to consciousness?
Yes. Yes, Harald Atmanspacher, my pronunciation, I didn't know him. I met him after at one of his conferences on consciousness in Tucson, and he's extremely bright person. Also because he said that my model is a promising model. Of course, I mean, it cannot be differently. It's my double. So the point is not that one. The point is that you must be lucky in your life. And I was very much lucky because I met masters in physics, really good ones, starting with Keiniello, Guerra in Italy when I was student there, and then Umezawa, a Japanese one, thanks to Japan. and then I met also Walter Freeman, who I knew him from the papers, because thinking of the brain, you cross with Walter Freeman. He left his fingerprint on neuroscience up to when he died. I mean, he has been a great neuroscientist. And so, in a natural way, comes the problem of consciousness. Which is not in the moral sense. In the moral sense, there is very low consciousness around. If we think what is the world today, people is without consciousness, let me say like that. But the consciousness we mean is something else. And I am always very much, as a physicist, very much upset a little bit about the consciousness, because it is proposed, it is presented as something which is there, but it's difficult to define. You see, consciousness is also defined to be a first-person phenomenon, in the sense that I cannot observe your consciousness. Only the person can talk and see his own consciousness. Now, a third-person situation in physics is not allowed. Galileo was saying, if we do physics, if we do knowledge, we need to have the possibility to go there, make observations, check, do experiments. But if I'm forbidden to see your consciousness, that is outside of physics. So a physicist has nothing to do with that. Like with Saint Raphael. Is saint? Well, okay, I don't know. So I had to reduce, to try to, if I wanted to have something to do with consciousness. And then I talk still now, since I do not know what is consciousness in this sense, but I reduced this consciousness business to the act of a consciousness. Because the act of a consciousness is something which is done by somebody, the subject, the brain you are talking about. And so is a reduction in some sense. Only the act of a consciousness, which, by the way, is the only thing we really need. because consciousness is actually always in the present. There is no consciousness of the past. There is knowledge of the past, of what we did. There is prevision of the future, but not consciousness of the future. The consciousness is always in the present. And now you see that the present is that now is on the surface of the time mirror, is between me and my double. So consciousness is the dialogue. Etymologically, the word dialogue is a bridge, is talking with, fighting with, because I hope that many of you are fed up with what I'm saying. I mean, it would be much better to have a walk in the green. Or you would like to change, that person at the back, he does not agree with me, he would like to kill me because he has different opinion. So the dialogue is a real dialogue back and forth. And we have to find a proper harmony. There have been talks about harmonization and all that. What means? Harmony between my double, myself, and my double. That is harmony. Harmony. There is Fabrizio Desideri, who is a colleague in Florence. He's a professor of philosophy at the University of Florence, and his field is aesthetics. And he was proposing, and he is proposing, that the real aesthetic experience is harmony with the world. And that includes arts, musics, all what normally we call aesthetics. What you do? I'm studying aesthetics, so we think that he's studying something like music, some arts, some painting. It's not just like that. Aesthetics is harmony, creating harmony, generating, searching harmony. So one of the dimensions of the brain is the aesthetical dimension. This is why we like to define something which is beautifulness, which is not just one, not given. For each one of us, there is a beautifulness criterion. I like blonde girls, but my wife she is dark. It happens. It happens, but you see. But my wife is a big part of my double, so we fight very often, of course. But we then reach some agreement, and that is the aesthetic experience.
Yeah,
So we live of aesthetics. We live of a beautifulness, which is not given. This is why things have to be the opposite, how would you say, the opposite of beautifulness. What is the word in English? Ugly. Things have to be ugly. If you take newspaper, if you turn on TV, all the news are bad news. Because they have to kill you. They have to split you from your double. Aesthetics, beautifulness, is revolutionary because you cannot control. And there are so many beautiful things as many people there are, because each one has its own idea about beautifulness. And there is no discussion about beautifulness. What is beautiful for me is not an object of a discussion. I like more salt on spaghetti. another one does not. There is no discussion about that. I mean, what do you want to discuss? I like that. Stop it. So it's revolutionary. You cannot control. So they have to give you bad news. Good news, they are no news. In some sense, they are right, because reality is a good news, because our everyday experience is an aesthetic experience. We search for aesthetics, for harmony. And this is one of the points. So consciousness, the act of a consciousness is to meet on the surface of a time mirror. That is consciousness. Just in the now, always present, always different, always new, always there. Because you cannot avoid to talk with your double. Why? Because otherwise you close yourself. But the brain, alive brain, is open by definition. If you close it, you kill it. So we cannot avoid to be conscious. To be conscious, you see, words are not. To be conscious, it seems we cannot avoid to act, to have the act of a consciousness. I have written a paper, I don't know if this can be interesting, but it was already something on my double. But I developed it with Tanya Ray. She's an anthropologist. She studies medicine of native South American natives. So she's expert in all kinds of fungi and things like that, which of course is forbidden to discuss about according to actual laws. But I mean, you have to study also that one. Galileo, he was forbidden to look at the moon, but it's a natural, always the same story. But in any case, about dreams. Now, I don't know if you might be interested in this subject, because I see somebody sleeping a little bit, so it's good. So, one aspect of consciousness is that we know, when we are conscious, that we are talking with the other one, with the double, with our double. We know that. So we make a distinction, because to talk with somebody, I mean, it happens that you talk with yourself in front of a mirror. But in that case, that mirror is your double, so don't worry, it's okay. So we perceive the distinction between ourselves and our double. But when we sleep, how this happens, sorry, because we have many links that relate our brain to the external world. We have 5 senses. Somebody say are more than 5. Maybe there are many more than 5. We are connected. We have links with the world. Okay. When we sleep, what happens? Many of those links are cut. When we sleep, we do not have any more feeling of I can sleep even in the noise. So my ear do not work anymore in some sense, unless somebody is screaming or something is shooting me or things like that. So many links are cut. So what that means? It means that in some degree the brain gets closed, but only at some degree. There is always some link. Now, if you cut links with the external, you might get a little bit confused. For example, one confusion comes because at the direction of time, the arrow of time, which is very well present in everyday life. Now you are saying, when do you finish to say these lousy things? But when we sleep, that feeling is smoothed. We do not feel time going through. So this means that we lose our clock, the connection between our clock and the clock outside us. We sleep, we do not know if it is midnight or 11 o'clock, if it is morning or if it is night. We need something, some light that comes from window, and then even if we sleep, we perceive some light and we think. So now, this means that when we sleep, we get a little bit, we do not make a complete distinction with our double. We get mixed with our double. Our double is outside. You are my double. But in my brain, the image of you, what you represent for me at this moment, and so on, makes some change, biochemical change. So my double is really in my brain too. It's changeable, because my brain is plastic, as a neuroscientist say. So it's changeable, is updating continuously. But when I sleep, I get a little bit confused between my double, which is in the room where I'm sleeping, and the relict of my double, which are remained in my brain. Just before going to sleep, I had still, at that moment, and I have also when I sleep, because I still, if somebody touch me, I might get up. So still there is a discussion, a dialogue with the external double. But part of that double I've been talking during the day is there in my brain, and I might. So, since, as I was telling you yesterday, brain memory is memory of meanings, not of informations. Information is crucial because it's the source of the meaning. But the meaning is the correlation between informations and between us. So in my talking with double, I construct meanings. Sometimes you think that something is going somewhere. Then you cross through something, somebody or something, and then you say, oh, now I understand. Now, first of all, on the mirror, I understand. Understand is a beautiful word because understand, staying down like you are now with respect to me. The cathedra was, if you go to Bologna and see the cathedra of Galileo, is up there. So, you realize something new. This is understanding. And so then you construct meanings. Now, when you sleep, there is a sort of confusion with your double. And things get mixed. And then you see, like in a movie, some photogram coming before another one, which was in your everyday life the opposite. But you are sleeping, your time arrow is not going just in one direction. So you are in a sort of freedom land, where you can put together pieces of a puzzle, your life puzzle, in different positions than the ones that you do when you are awake. So dreams are that kind of just identifying yourself with your double, which is exceptional situation.
Thank you. Our time is running out, but I want to place my last question because we spoke yesterday a lot about the information field. Yeah. So how do you relate this term, as you picked it up here, to quantum field theory?
Yes. Okay, let's leave for the moment the word quantum apart, but the word field. Yesterday already I told you that in that locution information field, one aspect is field, is crucial. Because as I told you yesterday, fields is a mathematical object with infinitely many degrees of freedom. Okay, I was making the example of the velocity field. A velocity field is not the velocity of one single molecule, but is a mathematical quantity which gets a value according to which molecule you are watching at. So it may have infinitely many values, because in that example of the rivers, you had so many molecules of water that you could say infinitely molecules, okay? Now, field information. It means that infinitely many degrees of freedom, you have to deal with such an infinity. So you have to make correlations. And to make correlations, from what we were saying yesterday, is making knowledge, ordering. Spontaneous breakdown of symmetry brings to correlations. Correlations means ordering. Ordering means to be able to make a distinction. This room is well ordered because each one of us has a different dress. So we can make a distinction, the lady in green and the lady in white. If we would be dressing, all of us, a blue dress, it's difficult for me to say the lady in green and the lady in white. I would say something else. So toward the field is when information becomes meaning. Mm-hmm. Brain is a beautiful object, constructing meanings. We always give a meaning to what we learn, to what we see, to what it becomes meaningful to us when we see something, in some sense, or does not mean anything to me. If you, very often you talk with somebody that you try to convince about, does not mean anything, does not mean. He does not say this information is zero. No, he said does not mean, because what is important is the meaningfulness of something.
All right, thank you so much, Giuseppe.
No, but you see, I'm Neapolitan, I'm rough. So I was always talking, but
this is why we invited you. So.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you want to? Sorry.
Thank you.